7 Kosovan Serbs have been injured in an exchange of fire between protesters and NATO peacekeepers at a disputed border crossing. Now, locals blame the alliance's troops, but NATO says it responded only with rubber bullets and tear gas in self-defence after Kosovo Serbs attacked the checkpoint. Motions have been running really high there since August, when Kosovan police seized 2 border crossings in a trade dispute with Serbia, and a police officer was killed in earlier violence. Let's get some comment about these developments. Nebojša Melic is a Serbian historian and author. He's joining us from Washington, D.C. Nebojša, very good evening to you. Thanks for being with us. These reports emerged in Serbia that NATO forces used real bullets, despite what NATO say, having earlier said that they were using tear gas and rubber bullets. Now, we've got some pictures from the Serbian news agency Tanjug to try and explain what's happening. We've got a doctor pointing up at the injuries here. We're looking at, I'm not sure if you can see it yourself, the doctor pointing at what looks, there they are. They look to be, the doctor says, I'm not a medic, I don't know if you know, but they are real bullets, despite what NATO's saying. Have you got any comment on that?
Well, yes, they started out using rubber bullets and they switched to real live ammunition. The NATO claims that this was after protesters hurled pipe bombs at them. Serb reports are saying that they used flares that they use at soccer games to drive off NATO troops from trying to bodily remove a lorry, a truck that was blocking one of the NATO barricades. For the past 11 days, there's been a game of nerves on the barricades, with NATO setting up barbed wire and fully armed troops, and the Serbs building barricades of earth trying to block NATO and using alternate routes into the province, because whenever Serbs try to use the Albanian manned crossings, they would get beaten, abused, detained, and otherwise mistreated. Just a few days ago, after NATO first put in the barricades, the local Serbs at this very crossing actually gave them food and tried to be sociable. There's no reason why they would attack these people. We've
got pictures of that as well. I don't know if our director can show that. It's a still picture, I believe, we've got coming up of Serbs giving food across the barbed wire there to the NATO soldiers. There we go. I mean, that looks like they're on, as best as you can be in these circumstances that they're in, on reasonably amicable terms, and yet we're hearing that it all dramatically changed around shortly after that. Is there any suggestion that NATO overstepped the mark here?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's not just me saying so. Obviously, there's very many observers that are saying that NATO is absolutely outside the bounds of its mandate. It is not supposed to be a law enforcement agency for the self-proclaimed government in Pristina. It wasn't supposed to seize these so-called customs posts in the first place, and it certainly isn't supposed to be shooting at people that are peacefully protesting this turn of events.
But NATO is perceived by Serbs as part of the problem. Well, I take the Serb side of it. I can understand that side of the argument. I can see both sides of the argument. Is it a reasonable position, though? And if so, what's to be done to improve the situation?
Well, it was very easy to improve the situation by not making it worse in the first place, by not deploying these troops in support of Hashim Tachi's fake state. Now that they have been deployed, they could have just as well have retreated like they did back in July and early August. Again, NATO command chose to escalate, and they are giving us this pabulum about law and order and criminal elements, and they're the foremost criminal elements in this case.
If what we're seeing there is true, if these allegations are true, proper bullets were used, etc., etc., the scenario really is that, if I'm getting this right, NATO peacekeepers, the people that moved in to help bring calm in the region, are now involved in shooting themselves, as we have apparently seen here. Could this situation escalate even more? What's the worry?
Well, it could escalate to the point where NATO basically causes the Serb population that remains in the province, which is only about a third of the population that existed 12 years ago when NATO troops came in. You have to remember, when NATO troops came in 1999, a large number of Serbs, hundreds of thousands of them, actually were forced to leave. And NATO troops just looked idly by as the KLA and the ethnic Albanians conducted a massive ethnic cleansing operation. They also stood idly by in 2004 when 50,000 ethnic Albanians rampaged across the province, burning out villages and churches and expelling people. So NATO troops really don't provide protection to the local Serbs as much as protection to the Albanian authorities from Serbia. Now, Serbia itself, the government in Belgrade, is refusing to support its own people, which is a separate problem. But the Serbs in Kosovo, the people who actually live there, who don't want to leave their homes, who don't want to live in an Albanian state, they have done everything a peaceful population is expected to do in a civilized world. They've gone out to the barricades, stopped the soldiers, bodies in bare hands, and offered them food as a sign of acceptance and tolerance, and they got shot upon. What else is a population supposed to do? Does democracy mean freedom to submit?
Thanks for your views on the programme. Serbian historian and author on RT tonight.